I think it's important to note that it is Ryan's fault.
Yeah, I would say, definitely my fault.
I was
It's
just
been a
joking,
busy,
but I've been busy
it's
too.
been a busy fall, and into the winter, and hopefully, well, it's like I keep taking on stuff, so it'll be a busy spring. But I'm going to try to make sure that we're back on, because it's like I miss talking to you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so have you been, Cynic? Have you been?
I've been good, Ryan. IG, do you feel offended that these two chuckleheads are rubbing their not only social but professional lives in their faces? Saying they're so busy that they can't have a good just sit down and have a chat with their buddies,
talk with our friends or anything.
Yes,
That's
yes.
just you guys go over there. We're gonna go do so much other stuff.
Well, I'm hoping for a little D&D action. I like actually. I remember for a couple of days I was like putting a lot of effort. I was like reading everything about the characters and spell and all this. So many of these attributes and things that I was unaware of. So I'm excited actually to do that again. But that's a whole different thing. Maybe we should stream our D&D session. I'm sure everyone would love to see that.
Be fun. We got to do an in-person session too, because I made a board game or a tabletop kind of card game that I need to test to play test.
We'll definitely
so maybe get like
that.
a mixed D&D and play testing session at some point. But Justin, how have you been?
Pretty good. As I was telling you guys, I am in the process of selling my Nashville house. I'm here. I'm sort of soaking it up for the last month. It's bittersweet. I'm happy about the sale, but I'm also sad. I love it down here in Nashville, and I love this house, but financially, it just makes a lot of sense. Right now, I'm looking to buy another house, probably closer up north. And with the way things are going, I'm going to be happy to have some cash, and I don't know what's going to happen. So it'll be good.
Yeah.
So,
how about have you been, Ig?
Doing all right. I mean, winter's been pretty mild, and I say that as we just got hit by nearly a foot of snow overnight last night. So but like literally we had like no snow anywhere before it snowed.
Yeah.
Which for Minnesota, like at the beginning of March, is really strange.
Wow.
But it's so like I just had to go because my daughter like had pushed my screen door in a little bit too hard and it wouldn't open, so I had to go pop that open.
Okay.
And but been doing that, been going to a veterans organization near me and teaching veterans how to play guitar in the morning.
I should totally do that. I'm totally going to do that once I'm settled.
Yep.
That's a great idea.
It's a you can look it up. It's called Guitars for Vets.
100%.
You go and look, and you can become an instructor and go somewhere and work with veterans, and they get 10 lessons. And after the 10th lesson, they get a guitar gifted to them from the organization,
I'm all in that. Does it teach? Does it teach anything about like giving them their benefits that they deserve from this country that was just yoinked away from them?
Well, now the organization that I teach through has a bunch of veterans advocates there that do those kind of things.
Okay, that's good.
So you don't like. I had to go get a Veterans Affairs volunteer badge, so that was just so that they could do a background check and make sure I wasn't a person, and like I hit it really well, so it worked out nicely. But
so, what stuff do you show them? Do any of them already have some experience, or some beginners? Like, what types of songs do you find most interesting?
It's one of those things where some have experience, some are brand new people, and basically have never even held a guitar.
Yeah.
So we try and meet them where they're at, and see what we can do. So if they've got a bunch of experience, it's like, all right, well, what kind of things can I help you get better at? Like, do you need to have maybe some more understanding of like circle of fifths, or do you want to learn like Travis picking, or do you things like that, right? Because it's all acoustic based, because
really
we're in a place where like trying to set up amps and everything would be a little bit more problematic, but so it's all based on acoustic things. So but then like new people is like, they're all concerned about, do I have to learn to read music? I'm like, I'm gonna tell you right now, most guitarists can't read music. Like they have no idea.
We know the joke, right? How do you get a guitar player to stop playing, right?
Just put sheet music in front of me.
Yeah.
So I most of the brand new people, I try and like teach them a good hand placement and stuff so that they can get their hand around to get good placement to play some chords. Teach them like GCD to begin with, so that I'm like, you can play a million songs with GCD, right? And teach them just how to count, right? I'm like, if you can count to 4, man, we can play a lot of songs.
Cool.
So that's what I've been doing. Just
that's great.
A lot of time doing that, volunteering my time. I don't get paid for it. It's just something I've been doing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So before we get into some of the stuff we'll talk about, first I have a little poll for everybody, which is what is the best city in the United States and why is it New Orleans? Justin, I'll start with you.
God damn it, Ryan.
Because it's well, I used to say New York was, but I think New York just garbage now. I just don't like. I like it because of the people there and certain aspects, and it's where I grew up. So there's an aspect, but I love New Orleans very much. It's like, let me count the reasons. First off, the food is just outrageously good.
You can stop there.
Yeah. Obviously the music, and more important than the music is the music culture.
Yeah.
That people appreciate live music and they want to go out to see it. Similar here with Nashville, that they appreciate it. But for me, and I'm going to go esoteric here, is the soul of the voodoo soul of New Orleans. Like, for a city that has just undergone so much tragedy and so many difficult things, obviously a hurricane, but so much, and it is just crazy that the spirit of the people there and what they're able to accomplish and what they've lived through, and they just always come up positive. So for me, like, I'm not always like positive. I'm the real cynic by nature, but there's something to be said about that, I think.
This is mostly to mess with Cynic. But so I wasn't sure, based on our text, have you been to New Orleans?
I haven't. I'm
haven't,
just not
okay.
a big fan of jazz. That's all.
Okay, I mean,
Well,
thing is-
in the beginning of the Super Bowl with the drum line and stuff like it just doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about it. Other than that, I mean, I've heard the food's fantastic.
Yeah.
I've heard the culture's great.
food's great,
But-
culture's great, and even with the music, like I don't love jazz, but when you're there, not that everything is jazz either, but you just you'll go to any place and you just can marvel at like the random guy on the street who's who's like the best musician you've ever heard, it's things like that. But
Well, I stayed in the Port Orleans Resort at
Mhm.
Walt Disney World, so I think that's close.
Yeah.
They had beignets and
Yeah.
things look like old New Orleans stuff. So that's as close as I've gotten to New Orleans. But so that's my experience.
When I run out of baseball stadiums, it's definitely on the list if it's
No,
still
but-
there.
I think when you go, you'll like it. I actually do think like you'll go there and you'll be a fan when you get back from.
Well, you're not allowed to come with me or sway me in any way.
Yeah, but no, it's a fun city. And it definitely has culture like no other place. I think that's really like it just has such a crazy, interesting history and culture.
One thing I noticed that was strange. Well, really, I was there before, or maybe when Uber and Lyft were just getting started. So you had to take local cab drivers, and they were very interested in showing us the plantations. And like, there's a big aspect of slavery to New Orleans too. And while it is a very tragic part of history, the many of the NOLA citizens are big on showing it and making you aware of the history, and of course the cemeteries as well. The above ground cemeteries, really weird stuff. That's why it's haunted.
Yeah,
Well,
there's kind of a interesting parallel between Savannah, Georgia, and New Orleans in that way. It's the same thing. Plantations and cemeteries are kind of their big calling card.
Yeah, there was this cool restaurant we went to where. So we did a ghost tour. Like I do the two kinds of tours I love doing is food tours and like ghost tours, right? Because I don't believe in ghosts, but a lot of times when you do like a haunted tour in any city, you get some of this deep like dark history that you wouldn't otherwise get on a normal like walking tour or a normal tour. And then food tours, because again, a lot of cities, none as much as New Orleans, like the culture is tied to the food. But during the food tour, at some point, the guy was like, "Well, listen, this isn't ghost tour, but I'm gonna give you a story." And so there's this one house, and inside this house, a beautiful house, is like this really fancy restaurant. But the guy's like, "Well, like here's a quick story. Basically, there's a guy. He had a couple people over at his place. They gambled, and he lost his house gambling, and then he went up and killed himself. And then he supposedly haunts this restaurant. And so like they're saying the story is that like the servers hear noises and things crash and all kinds of stuff. And so they built a seance room, which is kind of this, it's crazy. It's just this weird decked out like seance room like in the second floor, which is kind of just an interesting place to just hang out. It's like a lounge. But then also they basically they have a table set up for him that is every day they set it up with bread and wine. and it's just like that every day for this guy. So we were like, well, we got to eat there because it just seemed like an interesting place, and it was actually one of the best meals I've had. It was a really good meal, and then we got to kind of hang out around a ghost supposedly. But yeah, there's all kinds of stories.
So why don't you believe in ghosts?
I don't. I've yet to see one.
Because he's
So,
a
look-
reasonable human being.
Well, look, like I know that like it sort of goes hand in hand with your atheism, right? But why? What do they have to do with each other? Like, what if you just died, you become a ghost for like a couple hundred years, and that's it? Then you like fade. So like you are a ghost, but there's nothing else besides that. So like there's like an afterlife, but then it ends like there's no afterlife.
He'll believe in it when he becomes the ghost.
If there's evidence of that, great. I'll believe it. Give it. It's like
There's plenty of
like
evidence.
like
There
aliens.
is no
Hey, they built a seance room and
Like-
give this guy bread.
Yeah.
Yes, because yokels like him will wander in and have dinner because
Yes,
there's a
exactly.
seance room with
100%. We went to this stupid restaurant. No, but to be fair, it was a good meal. But I would not have gone there if they weren't like, yeah, there's a table right there where there's a ghost sitting there. And I don't even believe in it.
Sure,
but
it's nothing
just
to do with the
cool-
marketing of the
Oh,
restaurant.
no,
Right.
no,
It's
no,
good
but no, it is-
marketing. That's most ghost stuff that's going on today is good marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. But no, it's kind of like aliens. Like I don't believe that aliens have visited, but like if I have a chance, I want to go to where not Area 51. What's that? What's the city?
Roswell.
In New Mexico, Roswell, right? Like I would love to go there for no reason. It's not dumb, but it's a tiny little city in the middle of nowhere that would take forever to get to from wherever any major city. But I just think it'd be cool to go. So yeah.
Don't you
I'll
guys wish
100%
that whole Occupy Area 51 thing would have happened? Remember when they were talking about that a couple years ago?
Yeah.
I think COVID
Definitely.
really shut that down, but
Yeah.
that definitely would have been interesting. to just-
Conveniently at the right time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. So like, I don't have a very structured episode because kind of us getting back together and talking a little bit, and there's been a lot that's gone on. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have seen or what's standing out to you. But the couple of recent things I wanted to talk about quickly. I'm not going to do a whole Oscars review, but did you guys see any of the big Oscar movies and winners? You agree with them? Not agree? Completely indifferent because you didn't see anything. Ig, I'll start with you.
I know that like most of the things that were nominated for Oscars, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like I didn't know what the movie was at all. I mean, the Bob Dylan biopic one, I knew what that one was. I mean, I think that maybe the reason it didn't win is they handed out so many Oscars to biopics
Yeah.
that it's like we can nominate them so that they have hey, we're a Best Picture nominee.
Yeah.
But we can't just keep giving it to biopics if they do a good job.
Well, come on. How far down the biopic fucking hole have we gone that we're at Bob Dylan now?
Yeah.
How many people actually care about Bob Dylan?
Well,
Bob
and-
Dylan didn't care about Bob Dylan.
And the best part of that is Bob Dylan is still alive.
Yeah.
Why are we
Yes.
doing biopics of people that like are breathing?
Yeah.
So
No,
I mean, look, I mean, in
he's
his
going to
case,
do a
it
show
makes
in
sense.
Mankato later this year. Like he's still
Oh
working.
God,
Yeah.
Bob Dylan was the worst. I won't go into it, but it's the worst concert I've ever been to. Besides the fact that his band was great, of course, but he was terrible. And basically the premise is that I had hunted down this girl for a date, and like I finally got it with her, and like we were hanging out, and it was going awesome. And then like I had to go to this concert, and it was just like should have said I can't make it,
Mhm.
and I never saw the girl again. It was done. So like I always have that negative just thing, and then seeing Dylan, who's just terrible. Like, look, I admit his influence, and I like his songs when they're performed by other people. Of course, this has nothing to do with the biopic.
Yeah.
He's influential, but yeah,
Okay, but what was worse?
Always
the
brings up
concert,
that too.
the concert or losing the girl?
but they go hand in hand. Like lost the girl, and my reward was to have to see this super boring concert with Dylan, who couldn't sing at all. So. No.
So, Cynic, did you see any of the Oscar movies?
I did not,
Yeah.
and this is one of the first few years where I hadn't seen one. So,
Yeah, wow.
No,
the only thing I
we'd
was
seen
excited.
one, Dune Part 2. You probably saw that.
I haven't seen Dune
Mm.
Part 2 yet,
Oh, it's been on like streaming for months now.
and
so
that
I'm
should
sup-
show you the level of interest that it's been there. I
pretty
can
good.
tell you before we get in too deep, and I don't want to go crazy on it, but Peacock had Twisters, and I got
Mhm.
to see Wolfman, and they were both terrible.
Okay.
So you guys can stay away from those. I'll
Oh,
save you, and you're welcome for 4 hours of your life back.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was not gonna see Twisters, but I was interested in Wolfman, and I'm glad that saved me a little.
Yeah,
bit.
not great.
Yeah, I saw a couple of them. I did see a Nora, which was very good, like totally worth seeing. Really good, really funny, and totally a little bit not what you would expect out of it. So worth seeing if you haven't. And I saw Emilia Perez, which was good but weird, because it's like a musical, and like some of the music is kind of strange. I think, Cynic, you would hate that. So I did
Yeah.
definitely do not recommend that to you. Justin, I think you guys would be okay with it, but yeah, it was fine. But otherwise I didn't really see any of the other ones this year. It's like not a it seemed like a weak field too,
And why are we
not
nominating 10 pictures for Best Picture?
I
because
know,
of the
it's
Dark
just
Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah, because remember when the Dark Knight didn't get nominated, and I mean I think that's kind of where it started, right? Yeah, and to me it's like that movie at a minimum should have been nominated, and so I think they expanded the field to allow a couple of like mainstream like token movies.
Yeah, that's why Wicked got nominated.
Yeah, Wicked. You've got like Dune. And
I kind of felt like it's just a marketing ploy because obviously their takes are going to go up based on the fact that it was nominated for Best Movie.
Well, isn't the whole thing a marketing ploy?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a marketing ploy and a chance for Hollywood to suck themselves
Pat
off,
itself on
too.
the back. Yeah.
If they wanted me to see anything, they would have given an Oscar to Coleman Domingo, who I fully believe deserves it. He's a great actor.
Yeah, I know. He's incredible. I actually did watch. Was it? Well, he was in a series recently that he was really good in. Forgetting now what the name of it, but it was like it's kind of like a guy on the run. He's like a guy accused of a crime and kind of on the run. It was really good.
Yeah, he's fantastic in everything, and I think if there was anybody that they were going to replace Jonathan Majors with, I wanted it to be him.
Yeah, I can see that. A different. It would be like a different energy, but I can totally see him like nailing.
I like how they just shut that down completely, and instead of like replacing him and putting somebody else like they did with War Machine, they just like, we're just gonna not show any more Kang. Kang is gone.
Well, because Ant-Man was so poorly received, and Loki 2 didn't do the numbers that Loki 1 did. Season 2.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, I guess I'll jump on quick. I haven't watched any of it yet, but have any of you guys watched Daredevil, the first couple episodes?
Fuck. That opens up with a thunderbolt, man.
Ooh, I got halfway through the first episode before this. Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
it's if you're happy that the old cast is back, great, but they're not all staying around.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's really good.
Spoiler.
They've done a great job with it, and I can't wait. I mean, we're hitting like 17 episodes of it. I'm super jazzed. It's got the same tone as the original Netflix show, which I loved.
Wow.
Yeah, the fight scenes have been epic so far, and
how many did they release?
2 to start out. It's going to be weekly.
Okay. Oh, amazing. Okay, yeah. So that definitely is on my list of things to watch.
Yeah,
Maybe we should do
my thunder.
podcasts about them.
Yeah. No. So maybe we can start talking about that.
So that I guess if we're going to podcast about them, but this is sort of my take on it. I want to wait at least until about 11 episodes because I'm going to binge it. You just know, and I want to hold out and watch the whole thing. I don't know if that's
all right. Then you're going to get spoiled.
I guess I have to watch it.
Yeah, something like Reacher, nobody's really, the masses aren't paying attention to it. You're safe waiting till the end of that. Daredevil stuff's going to come out.
Yeah, speaking of Reacher, I forgot have you guys started Reacher?
Yes.
Yes.
That was the other one I wanted to planning on starting.
Another one really good.
So I think like I've kind of had this completionist thing. So I've read all the books, and this is one of my favorite books. So I was kind of excited that they're adapting it.
Yeah, it's a good show. Solid acting, fun story. I mean, the second season dropped off a little bit, but it feels like the third season is picking back up.
Well, the thing with Reacher too is like it's same in the books, and I think the shows capture that for me is that it's like comfort food. Like they're good. They're not, they're not, but it's not like high drama, or prestige TV or the books. It's not like literary fiction, but they're like comfort food. They, even same formula. Prose is the same, but I always enjoy them, and the shows kind of got the same thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not too deep, but it's deep enough, and it's always entertaining.
To follow everything so tightly scripted that if you miss 15 minutes, you're lost.
Yeah. No,
you can just watch it and eat popcorn and love your life for
exactly.
An hour
No, it's great. So and the show, like you said, Cynic, season 2 dropped off a little bit, but still perfectly happy with it. Totally entertaining. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some. Well, before we get into stuff we're watching, so we had, we've been doing lately, or before we stopped over the fall, we talk a little bit of pro wrestling, and we're getting into WrestleMania season, and we had maybe the greatest heel turn ever. Cynic, what were your thoughts of the John Cena turn to the dark side for the first time?
Like I said in our
20
group chat,
years.
I think it's in the world of wrestling, it's up there as one of the greatest heel turns ever. Doesn't quite have the overall impact that Hulk Hogan did,
Yeah.
but it still has the emotional depth to it. Like it still is important as far as the WrestleMania in the next 10 months for John Cena, especially with the fact that he's still one of their top merchandise sellers.
Yeah.
And that's gonna take a hit now because of that over the next 10 months or so. I'm sure there'll be a redemption arc at the very end, but I thought it was, well, other than Travis Scott being there, could we stop with shoehorning famous people into the areas that they don't need to be in?
Stop.
It's terrible. It was dumb. He played no purpose, and he really could have hurt Cody Rhodes with some of the shit that he did. So, but other than that, I loved it. I saw it developing as it was happening, but I'm glad that that they did it because it makes the main event for WrestleMania a lot more special.
Yeah. Well, it's become very cinematic with everything they've done at this point. And so like it doesn't have the impact that like on the industry that the Hulk Hogan turn had.
Yeah.
But I think it's like it was just a shock. And I think that's the thing that they've been able to do. And the fact that like he's retiring soon, he's a big star, so he should be a good guy. So you just figure, okay, we're gonna get a nice little swan song for him, and to do that was just shocking. So it's like it makes me want to see what's gonna happen now. Like a heel John Cena for the next year before he retires will be really interesting because we haven't seen that ever. And like he's a big merchandise seller, so it makes for all of a sudden must see TV. And just like, even if you're not a fan of wrestling, the way that was shot was cinematic.
Yeah.
It's like, and the seeds were all planted, and he and even The Rock in that moment, like just a great job of acting and a great bit of business. And it's like Travis Scott shouldn't have been there, but thankfully that moment was so big that it didn't take away. And then what was really cool is, again, the next night you have CM Punk giving like one of the best promos in history right after, and just saying stuff about The Rock and John Cena that I don't know that you're supposed to say unless you're CM Punk. So that was pretty crazy.
Well, and kind of life being intertwined with art. During that promo, he mentioned somebody's wife, and somebody's wife may or may not have tweeted that he might be having an affair with one of the female wrestlers on the show. So I don't know how much sports entertainment we're getting in all this.
So
I mean, could that all be worked as well though? Like, I mean, would it extend to social media?
She deleted it almost immediately, so I don't think so.
But she like, I feel like in that situation, it could go either way. Because if it's worked, everyone has to know. Well, I'll post it. People are going to see it. I'll delete it. It's going to look even worse that I deleted it right away.
We call that the John Jones or Conor McGregor move.
Yeah. Or it could have been. It's hard to say, right? Like because there is such animosity. I mean, that's the beauty of it right now. It's doing such a good job of blending. You don't know what's real and what's not real. And that was the same thing last year, where The Rock kind of injected himself into WrestleMania, and then the fans revolted. And it's kind of, we don't know what are things that's been planned for a year out, what are things that they just planned, who really hates. There seems to be real animosity between Rollins and Punk, but is there like it's they're doing a good job of kind of blurring those lines and then making things that much more interesting. But with the tweet, did she say who, or did she just say someone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Who did she say?
Oh, what was her name? It's the little Hispanic wrestler.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up.
Perez, I think.
Roxanne Perez.
Wow,
that's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Well, who looks very much like Punk's wife.
Yeah.
You guys might know this. Was this predicted? Because look, there's always fan theories and stuff going on, but was this a widely accepted fan theory that Cena was going to turn heel?
No, I saw it a couple hours before the event, and I was like, "That's possible." I didn't pay much mind, but then it happened.
Exactly.
So.
Like, I'm sure there are people who said, "Oh, that might happen. That would be interesting."
Because anything could happen.
Nobody thought. I think the only other thought was maybe Cody Rhodes would turn heel, and there was some speculation or something out there that like he might have turned that down. But I think that was the speculation, that maybe he turned heel, or maybe CM Punk would turn heel. Although like it just wouldn't make sense him like joining The Rock or whatever. But that was the thing that was not there wasn't like, yeah, rumor has it he's really gonna happen. I don't think I saw that anywhere.
I really think that The Rock has a chance to become as big as Mr. McMahon, though, as far as a heel.
Yeah.
If he's, overall running things, the way they're building it, like he's involved in the major storylines. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fallout from what happened.
Yeah.
So they have a shot as establishing him as a main character on kind of the heel side.
Yeah, and then it's like he doesn't have to wrestle. If he's not going to wrestle, he can be there without having to worry about being in shape for, being in ring shape, and he can kind of pop up here and there and have his lackeys or whatever. So yeah, I think that they're doing a good job of like making this, making it really cinematic and making these stories things that you really want to follow. My light. I was like going to say we should place a bet on whether these lights would go off, but they didn't. So somebody take over for a minute.
Let's just do dead air.
We need
dead
a
air
back.
I would just want to know what he had to climb on to turn it back on. Oh, shit. Here we go.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about like what we've been watching. A lot's been on recently. But Ig, I'll start with you. Anything that you've seen? We'll go, let's say like one, we'll go one by one and we'll go a few times around. But Ig, anything that you've been watching recently that like stands out?
Well, I watched Landman.
Okay.
With Billy Bob Thornton and everything. I really liked that. I mean, I don't know that everything in there is scientifically accurate because they're talking about, like, he tries to talk about how, like, the carbon footprint of putting wind turbines in to power the oil wells, right? And he's like, they'll never recover that to pump the oil out. And it's like, well, scientifically, they get it back in about 3 months. Like, all the stuff it takes to make the wind turbine, in about 3 months, they've hit it off. But the acting in it is so well done, and the other things going on in that show are so well done that, like, if you just watch it as entertainment and don't try and like build your scientific views of the world off of it, I think you'd be fine. And it's really good. And like, I'm one of those guys that anytime Billy Bob Thornton shows up in just about anything, I'll watch it because I think he's a great actor. I think he's very entertaining. He can play a lot of different roles, a lot of different ways. I mean, if you look at all the different things he's done, he's very talented. So that'd be my first one that I came up with. Was I really enjoyed watching Land.
Yeah, Cynic, you highly recommended that, right?
Oh yeah, it was a great show, and they shit on clean energy so much that I was wondering if it was the oil companies putting it out.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I it's one of those on my list, but Anna, it's like that she looked at a preview and was like, yeah, I'm not interested at all.
You should tell her she's got to watch it.
Yeah, it was like we went through that with The Wire. I'm doing that with The Shield now too. It's like I'm trying to rewatch The Shield. She has no interest, but I'm like, I think I'm like inches away from getting her to start watching The Shield. So yeah, it's that's been a little tough getting her on board with some of these shows. It's like Yellowstone. Not that it's the same kind of show, but like getting her to watch that, which I was interested in, but she just has no interest in it. Justin, what have you been watching recently?
So bunch of stuff. I went through. I'll start with some movies. I sort of went through a phase where I just wanted to like consume like all like sort of crappy Netflix and Amazon movies and everything. So let's see. I got sucked into these bad movies. They weren't bad. There was one movie I think it was called like American Wrestler, the Wizard, and then they had an American Fighter, and it was about this guy that like, and it was like based on a true story, and it was like kid escapes from Iran. Comes to the U.S., faces racism, and learns wrestling, and like it was sort of okay, the movie, and I liked the premise, and then I found out that it was like sort of based on it, but the guy who it was really based on came here and after the whole Iran-Contra thing, so it wasn't really dangerous, but I sort of enjoyed it. And the American Fighter was kind of like as if MMA existed way back before the UFC, which it sort of did, and so it's kind of like another MMA in movies where it's basically staging these MMA fights and people are aware of it and everything. So I thought that was sort of cool, but even if it was a little anachronistic. So many. I actually enjoyed another sort of cheesy movie was the Tetris movie. I was watching that, which sort of talks about it, greatly dramatizes with them chasing them, at the end. Spoiler, which clearly never happened, but I love Tetris and I love the story of it. It's really a fascinating story, and they did a decent movie to sort of document albeit very a dramatic version of it because it has to be. So,
Yeah.
and for shows,
Well, we'll come back to you.
Sure.
It's,
Okay,
it's
okay.
good. You know, he said one. Let's do
Yeah.
four.
Give us your whole list now.
Three.
We'll wait.
I was just going there.
Yeah.
They count as basically, since they're not great, they count as like basically one movie.
So, Cynic, how about you? What's something you want to?
Well, actually, just last night, Ryan, we watched The Devil in the Family, the fall Ruby Frankie documentary, and it was fantastic.
Okay.
Ruby Frankie was this family parental content creator in the early 2000s, before COVID, just before COVID,
Yeah.
and they rose to stardom. She had I think it was 6 kids or something like that. There are
Yeah.
5 or 6 kids, and they live in Utah and they're Mormon. And in the beginning, when the kids were young, it was great. They built this business. They were all enthused,
Yeah.
but then they became less enthused about it. And she started turning on them. And when she started turning on them and the content became more fake or more forced, then the internet turned on her. And they were making millions of dollars a year on this YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And then this therapist got involved, and then there's devil possession and people being cut out of the family. It's I believe it's 2 or 3 parts, and it's fantastic. It's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of documentaries, I'm forgetting the name. What was the documentary? The recent kind of true crime case. The woman that was murdered by her husband and he killed himself.
The Gabby Petito thing. Yeah, that was going to be the next thing I talk about.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
that was on Netflix, and yeah, it was really good. I mean, I even said something to Ig about that because he does have daughters of around that age,
Yeah.
and I think anybody that has a daughter from 15 to 25 needs to be sat down and to watch that and to understand like how these situations happen. And the perfect is a lot of unreleased details like his phone records, police body cam footage with the cops,
Yeah.
a lot of stuff that was never seen before is seen in this documentary, and they did a really fantastic job of telling the story.
Yeah, it really did. And I think what's really hard when you're dealing with any of these kind of true crime is they can feel very exploitative. And I think this did a good job of not doing that.
Yeah.
Focusing on her, and her family, and still dealing with the case, right? It's a fascinating, story. So still getting that without it feeling too exploitative and giving you some new information.
Yeah, that anytime they can bring something new to the table, especially since you had some details from like her ex-boyfriend who she reached out to days before she was murdered.
Yeah.
She there was red flags that she unfortunately ignored, and not the victim blame, but there was opportunities for her to get out of the situation, and she didn't, and she waited too long, and it cost her life. And tragic. It was just the whole thing. It breaks you up inside because I think women really need to understand when they're in a toxic relationship that if the signs are there, they've got to get out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just as a plug in regards to that, my girlfriend has done tremendous research on that exact field, and she actually just released a book that as you said knows the signs, that basically word for word documents the signs, and she's done many cases like that about where the signs are there. And so yeah, it's called for anyone who's interested, it's called Dying for Love: What Everyone Needs to Know Before the First Kiss. It's by I'll leave it at that. I won't mention her name, but if you're interested, please check it out, because it says exactly what Cynic just said, knowing the signs.
Yeah, sadly, in another documentary, it was revealed that the thing that kills pregnant women the most are their spouses.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so I will get to my first, which will lighten it up a little bit. It's HBO. It's called The Bookie. So I didn't know about this show the first season and even early into the second season, but it's hilarious. So basically, it's just a comedy, easy half-hour comedy about a bookie in LA, who initially you think it's kind of like a stereotype, like mafioso type, Italian guy, but he's not. He's kind of like non-violent and is constantly kind of getting into trouble and having to find his way out of situations. But it's just a really good cast. Hurley from Lost. You watched Lost, right?
Oh yeah.
So he's in it. And he's got a great cast. Everybody's really funny. Great chemistry with everybody. And highly recommend. It's just really funny. It's kind of, for me, with like What We Do in the Shadows ended, and that was kind of my, my kind of the comedy, like the go-to comedy for me, and that kind of replaced that to at least to an extent. It's not as funny as What We Do in the Shadows, but it's up there. So definitely entertaining.
I love the first couple seasons of Lost, Ryan.
Yeah.
But you want to know the biggest wedge in me and IG's relationship?
What?
The fact that he lived on the island that they shot Lost and he would never watch it.
Never.
Really?
Didn't watch it.
Why?
Just didn't interest me. Nothing about it.
Out of spite.
Yeah, it like I might have started watching it, but he started pushing on me so hard. I'm like, yeah, I'm just not gonna watch it because of you.
Yeah.
He only likes it when I push behind him.
It's one of those like it's hard to recommend because it's so good early on. It's like Dexter, it's like it's so good early on.
And then not.
The thing with Dexter though is you can kind of just stop it after season 4 and you're not going to lose anything. Like, yeah, you don't get like his end, but it's still going on, so you don't even get an end. But like Lost, you want to know what the hell's going on, and you don't learn any of that.
You
so
really
it's like I would recommend. I'd say watch Dexter season 1 to 4, and then you don't have to watch it again. But with Lost, it's like you got to commit to it, but it nosedives after a bit, so it's kind of hard to recommend. Ig, what about you? What's your next thing to recommend, or that you
next one I would recommend is one that I got from Cynic. He called me, he's like, you got to watch this, and it was the American Manhunt for O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was,
that was
so good, and like basically you get confirmation like right at the end of the 4-part series that's like, yeah, OJ did it.
Yeah.
And I guess it's when you talk about like taking advantage of things and showing up and like making money based off of like people's pain and suffering and everything. I think enough time has passed from this one that like even if they make some money and give some to the families or whatever, just a little bit, like they've made some money through other means and everything, and like it's time we all knew. Like the only thing we're missing now is like who actually killed JFK, right? So like did OJ do it? Everybody kind of thought, well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe. Well, yeah, he did.
Yeah, I mean, it was clear,
OJ killed JFK. That's sort of a new theory.
It's as good as any other theory out there.
Well, we're never going to find out because they've released all the documents they have, and I haven't heard a peep. You would think that would be the biggest news story for weeks, and crickets.
Yeah, well, it was.
I know about like a list of that's going to expose everyone, this magical list that just everyone's going to show it, but it just never seems to make it out there.
Well, they're definitely not going to do self-harm. So if the wrong people are on that list, you're going to get a redacted list.
Yeah. But it was the documentary was fascinating because it was like, even having lived through it, right? Like you think everything, and they did a good job of that because it's happened how long ago? 30 years ago?
In the 90s, so yeah.
I remember that it interrupted like game 6 or something, or game 5 of like it was the Knicks versus the Pacers, I think. Was it the finals?
No, you're right. I think it was I think it might have probably the conference finals.
I remember it was like,
just
what
crazy.
the hell?
Yeah, why? Yeah, what's going on? But then it's like it just captured your attention. So yeah, and the documentary did a good job of kind of keeping that. It was crazy.
Well, and they showed like all the problems, like why like they made just dumb mistakes in the trial, and they shone bright lights on every single dumb mistake that they made.
Yeah. And I guess
sadly, the Ronnie King case affected the OJ case because he didn't want to try it in the city of, where was it? I think they could have got Santa Monica.
Yeah.
But then they ended up doing it in Los Angeles, which changed the jury pool and changed history.
No, absolutely. It was interesting. Like I didn't realize the level of incompetence, I guess, on display from the prosecution in that case.
Funny enough, years later, after the trial and everything, I was out in Santa Monica staying at a hotel because I was working for Activision at the time, and that's where the base was. And I was staying in a hotel doing some things at the base for like a week or something, and OJ had been living in the same hotel I was in. He was in the bar one night when I went down to grab something quick to eat, and I'm like, oh, hey, I'm just gonna sit over here.
Yeah.
Not gonna go talk to the juice.
Yeah, no, probably not. Probably made the right decision. So Justin, what's the one TV show you've been watching?
I'm gonna mention. I'll mention 2. So briefly. So Cynic was like, you should really watch Shrinking. So I did, and I binged it. I enjoyed it very much. Really, it sort of got a little one note towards the I think the end of the second season, but I enjoyed it. I I also finally got through. I finally watched. I think you should leave, which is basically like my like comedy that is geared towards um, people of our age, like who sort of get it. I think that maybe other generations might not as much. Have you guys seen that?
No, what's it
Oh
on?
my god, it's Netflix.
Hmm.
Very, I thought it's like what you want SNL to be. The main guy who writes it, or the main writer and actor, was basically an SNL reject. It's like you're,
Okay.
he was too out, he was
Okay.
too crazy, but very. I haven't laughed like that for sketch humor in I can't since the '90s with during the really good. Oh, by the way, has anyone saw the SNL 50? I mean, that
Yes.
was just I like the cowbell sort of segment because it's so iconic. But really, the SNL, that was more the documentary on it, but the actual show was just. I mean,
Black Jeopardy was good, but besides that,
yeah, Black.
right?
Look, there's
You
a
had Eddie
few
Murphy
things.
playing Tracy Morgan,
Look,
like
there's always a few
with
little
yeah,
things here and there that are good, but in general, it's
yeah.
just you long for the days of yore.
I mean, that's what an episode of SNL is, right? There's gonna be one good skit, probably waking up day will be funny, and then the rest of it is just like wishing that it would be what it was. But was it ever that good?
Yeah, it was. It was real
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, but it
Well,
wasn't made. It was made for us in our 20s.
yeah.
It wasn't made for us
Earlier,
in our
yeah.
40s and 50s. It was made for us in our 20s. So you have to almost get the opinion of people in their 20s.
Yeah.
Is this funny? Because that's who they're making it for. They're not
Mhm.
making it for us. They're making it for them.
And I'm the last person to say people should or shouldn't do anything because of their race. But could white people stop with the not like us parody videos? I'm
Are there
tired of it. I'm tired of seeing it.
are there not
You
like
all
us
looked
parody
up.
videos by white
Oh,
people?
Oh, they're doing
God.
the dance from the Super Bowl, like, with people following them and stuff. And it's like,
Oh man.
Oh,
day since
so
white people
cringe.
cringe tried to do something that black people have done. It's like, stop it.
Yeah. That's the problem with TikTok. It sucks. I did not know that. I've not seen those videos, but
Anyhow,
on
so
social
you
media.
guys
You're
should
not
see it.
missing much.
Okay.
Should see it.
All right,
Funniest
so
sketch. I think you should leave. Very funny sketch comedy. Something that you wish SNL was.
all right. So Cynic, what's your next recommend?
Um, well, it's actually a movie. I went to see Captain America: Brave New
Okay.
World
Yeah.
2 weekends ago,
And
and yeah, it was decent. I kind of have a problem with them changing the character the way they did, only because he's a secondary character and they haven't done anything other than give him a shield to up and enhance his powers. So him going against these top level villains is kind
Yeah.
of a little hard to believe. Like
Yeah.
I really think they should have. If you want to make him Captain America, give him the super soldier serum. Don't make it a fact that he's not as strong as Captain America. He's vulnerable. Well,
Yeah.
then what are we doing here? We can't live and die on the fact that we want to accept him as Cap and we want everybody to love him, but he can't do the things that the other Cap can do. It didn't make any sense to me. But overall, the movie was okay. I have high hopes for Thunderbolts, which is out in a couple months.
Yeah, that looks good. Hey, did you see Captain America?
I haven't seen it
Yeah.
yet. I'm still thinking I'm gonna go, just because I tend to go to most of them. Like I skipped the last Ant-Man movie, but
Yeah. It's not must see viewing anymore, at this point.
I
well,
think Thunderbolts will be. I think
Yeah.
they're going to make a comeback.
Yeah.
I think this was
and like Fantastic Four, I'm
Yeah.
hugely
Yes.
excited for.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like they've got stuff in the chamber that I think we're excited about. But yeah, that's one of those, like, I want to see it. Again, like, Anna has no interest, and so I have to kind of figure out, like, I don't want to see it that bad. So it might be a movie that I'm just going to end up waiting until until we get to, until it's on Disney Plus, which will probably be pretty soon.
Well, if either you're going to go see it, rewatch The Incredible Hulk with Ed
Okay.
Norton because
Okay.
it leans heavy into that movie.
Yeah.
Well,
Alright.
the problem I have with it is I don't see where the building block from that is into further MCU properties clearly, right? Because I'm sure that, Sam Wilson, Captain America, is going to be in the stuff, but like, why is it important to do this? Because that's what the MCU did so well.
Yeah.
All the stuff before, it was like, you giving them a movie so that you can show why that character's important coming up into the next stuff. And I'm not seeing even in reviews or people talking about it, like why it's important that we have that. Like, and are we just done seeing a Red Hulk thing? Is that going to show up anymore? Or like they put him in the raft, so like he's
It
not
very
gonna be-
much felt like a one-off. Like
Yeah.
it very much felt like it, obviously we're going to see Captain America again, but none of the story led to anything else. I mean, unless the main villain being the leader, unless they use him again, I don't see it going anyplace else other than answering these questions from the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
I can say that Giancarlo Esposito was amazing, and they didn't use him nearly enough.
Well, apparently, like that was all shot after the fact.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
so
to save
it's
the
crazy.
movie. Yeah, well, Seth Rollins had a role as one
Yeah.
of the Serpent Society, and they cut it.
Yeah. No, but yeah, that definitely yeah, like he's great in everything, so I guess they made a good choice there. So the second thing I'll talk about is I watched the show over the weekend. It's not amazing, but it's not bad at all. It's called Surface, which speaking of the MCU, it stars Gugu Mbatha Raw, who's in Loki, and she basically plays a woman who has like, not a spoiler, but she has a suicide attempt, tries to dive or jump in, or supposedly, tries to jump into a body of water, gets rescued, and has amnesia, so she doesn't remember what led to it, and so kind of unfolds as a mystery, of her figuring out what happened, and like there are different suspects, and was it the husband or the friend, or who potentially could have done it if somebody did, attack her, and what happened and why did it happen. And I think they do a very good job with kind of allowing it to unfold and showing you who the villain is. And I'll leave it at that. It's Apple TV, totally entertaining to watch. And we binged it over the weekend. And yeah, definitely enjoy it. So if you guys are looking for something while we wait for The Last of Us to come back, that's a good one to watch.
Yeah, that's pretty soon too, isn't it?
Yeah. So we'll do one more round. So Ig, what else have you watched recently that you want to?
Well, another thing I've been watching some of is I rewatching and going into the new season of Invincible on on Amazon. Like Joe won't watch it probably because it's animated, but it's basically The Boys animated, right? It's pretty intense, but there's some fun and stuff going on it because I mean some of the voice actors in that are people that you would know. It's like what's his name, Jason Matsukas or something.
Yeah.
Voices one of the things. He's been all over.
Yeah.
Like, he was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine for a while and other places. But yeah, I it's another popcorn show. It's, action, adventure, comedy, everything, but it's just animated, right?
Yeah.
So it's like watching old Saturday morning cartoons, but it's really more for adults. It's not a kids animated show.
Yeah. Justin, how about you?
I just
Give us
got
3 this time.
Give us 3. I'll use 1. I just got into surveillance. No, sorry, not surveillance. What's it?
Severance.
Severance. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, brain fart.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy it. It's like the sort of thing that Ryan and I might write, and like try to figure out like sort of these weird little meta existential crises, and like how would we like fix it? Because when we were writing the Soul Coast script, like so much of it was like, well, how is this consistent? Does this make sense? Like, how can you poke holes? Because when we write, we sort of have this idea. Okay, you're allowed like a coincidence once in a while. You're allowed like basically one coincidence, every episode, or maybe every few episodes, right? You're allowed a couple of inconsistencies where someone could poke holes, but I'm watching it, and for something like that, which is often riddled with inconsistencies, which bothers me as well. If you're going to go something's very science fiction-y and existential, it can't be riddled with holes where it's like, well, but this, it doesn't make sense. And I know some people have said that it's like an episode of, like, it could be basically an episode of Black Mirror, right? Sort of condensed into one with the concept. But I enjoy it.
Yeah. Are you guys watching it?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, the commercials have done very little to nothing to make me want to watch it. And I've heard, like, I have a problem with things that I have to spend more time thinking about it than I did watching it. And then I still don't come up to a conclusion. And I mean, overall, it hurts the watching experience for me.
How about you, Ig? Are you watching Severance?
No, but I think I'm going to watch it. I just haven't done it. And I know that like the first season was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what season they're
It's
on.
weird that it just pick up steam.
It's a good show. I really enjoyed it. I think I really enjoy season 1. I think you guys would like it. It's not that you have to think, so it's more that like it's not a show that you can like multitask watching. So like it's not a show you can be like scrolling on like, Instagram and kind of 80% paying attention to that and 20% paying attention to your phone and like chatting. Like you do have to pay attention to what's going on because it does get pretty deep, and a lot going on, but I do like the premise and I like the way the mystery unfolds. I think season 2, I'm not sure yet if it's kind of jumped the shark, so I'm kind of waiting to see where it goes. Like I'm enjoying it but not as much as season 1. But I think it's a show you guys would enjoy. It just is like you gotta it's kind of it's just like I found like there've been episodes where like I have to go back and read what happened because I didn't pay enough attention to what was going on. So that's the kind of thing.
Well, that's it. You end up reading afterwards to explain to you what you just
Yeah.
watched,
No,
and that
it's-
was happened to me a lot during Westworld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Westworld,
like,
everything
what
got
the
so
hell just
convoluted.
happened?
Yeah, that definitely has that similar vibe in that you're not quite sure. Are there unreliable narrators? What's real? What's not? There's a lot of that kind of built into it, but definitely a good show. So how about you, Cynic? What else do you have to?
Well, going from the highest level of entertainment to the lowest, two of my favorite reality shows are back and still are in high form. And we got level or something. I'm sorry, season 48 of Survivor. Survivor's still around and doing well. They've kind of watered down the contestant pool a little bit, and that's frustrating at times because the challenges aren't near as physical. But it's also watching normal people do superhero stuff, so that kind of makes for good TV from time to time. And the games change, which is really interesting too. Like there really aren't alliances anymore. People vote in blocks, so it's like 1 week you and I are best friends and voting together. Next week you're gone because that's the way it moves. They take care of the biggest threat. And then season 15 of Gold Rush, which is still around and still doing well. It's fun to watch Parker go from an 18-year-old mind boss to now. I think he's well in his mid-20s, and he's a multimillionaire and one of the most successful business owners in the Yukon. So that's kind of a lot of fun to watch the elevation of his game and his decisions and his business practices.
Yeah, cool. And I'll quickly give two quick things. I won't talk too much about it. One, did watch Nosferatu. I have a feeling, Cynic, you have not seen it and have no intention of seeing it.
I didn't hear you cut out.
No, oh no, so I said I saw.
Nosferatu.
But I enjoyed it. It's very much kind of tries to piggyback off the the original, but with really the effects are really good, the score is good, performances are great. But yeah, I feel like that's something you're not going to enjoy. That was really good. And then then I've been watching the most recent season of White Lotus, which is also entertaining.
I'm hearing good things about that.
Yeah, it's a good show. It's fun. It's kind of ridiculous, but definitely entertaining. I think my only issue, going back to what Justin said about binging, that's a show I'd rather binge than just watch in one set. Like the first 2 seasons is like that. Like things like they're really good. The writing's really good. And they're they always cast like kind of an all-star cast in each season, and the performances are really good. So you can kind of just sit and watch people kind of chew scenery. But not a lot happens episode to episode. So like each season kind of starts with a mystery. Like at the very beginning is like somebody's dead, and then you're trying to you spend the entire season figuring out who and how. And I feel like that's a show I'd rather just watch in one setting because so little happens, from episode to episode, that I'd rather just kind of be able to sit down, over a weekend or a couple weekends and get through it. But definitely, I think you guys would really enjoy it. So before we check out, I did want to talk about maybe some stuff that we're looking forward to, in the next few months. I think there's a lot. So I'll start us off. I'm actually really looking forward to Superman. I think that I love that trailer. I think James Gunn's got the right tone, for it. It's not dark and it's not like as dark as like the Snyderverse. I think he has the right idea of what we want and kind of need out of a Superman movie to make it interesting. And I love seeing Crypto. So I'm excited. I think they made some really good choices with that. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, no, the trailer looked good to me. I mean, obviously, people still have a bad taste in their mouth, and the DC fandom is split between Gunn and Zack Snyder, which I'll never understand.
Yeah.
Same with AEW and WWE. It's all wrestling.
Yeah.
One's not better than the other. It's just different, and that's okay. It makes, who wants to watch two of the exact same thing?
Yeah.
I believe you used to say in the beginning of the podcast, that they keep making gritty movies and nobody's going to watch because you can't have the same tone for everything. And James Gunn did a great job with seeing where Marvel was going and kind of pivoting to a more humor-based superhero movie with Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm interested to see what he does with it.
Yeah.
Well, he's supposed to be just such an uplifting character, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can make dark movies in the DC universe because that's what Batman's for. But Superman's supposed to be an uplifting character. When everything is trying to be dark with Superman, you're just defeating the purpose.
Exactly.
And putting Nathan Fillion in there as a Green Lantern, and if you know anything about the Green Lantern that he's playing in there, like, he looks spot on. People are like, why does Nathan Fillion look so fucking retarded?
It was great.
He looks perfect.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't even understand. He looks perfect.
Yeah, I know, it looks great. No, I think they did a great job with all the, so I mean, again, obviously we'll see, we could turn out that we hate the movie, but I think the casting is all spot on. I like the, I forget his name, the guy that's playing Superman looks, he's got an interesting look as Superman, and he kind of looks goofy as Clark Kent in the shots that we got, the weird hair.
Yeah, the hair's a little much.
Yeah,
but other than that, I had no problems.
But hey, like, if you gotta, I would not think that's the same guy. So, it kind of works. Although, but the only thing that would take me out of it is he is clearly incredibly tall, and that would be like, okay, so that, like, he's tall and he still looks like Superman. Like, it'd be hard for me, not to think that that's the same guy. But other than that, like, I think it looks good. And my only hope is, like, I want there to be humor, but I don't want it to be like, Guardians of the Galaxy humor, right? Like, it should be there, but we still want a hopeful, uplifting movie, and not like a joke a minute, joke fest. But I think James Gunn's got that. Like, I think he's got a very good job, does a good job with tone and figuring out how to blend the humor with whatever the story he's trying to tell. So, excited about that. Ig, anything you're excited about coming up?
Well, there was a movie a few years back called Nobody with Bob Odenkirk.
Okay.
Right, and it was basically, who are you? I'm nobody. But he just, like, somebody messed with him, and he ended up, like, basically wreaking havoc all over a city. And it's kind of one of those John Wick type things. Yeah. But, like, Bob Odenkirk isn't somebody anybody would really come to think that is going to do that kind of thing. But it was a really fun movie. Well, they're coming out with a second one.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm kind of excited to see that one. I think it'll be fun. Nobody too. Who are you? I'm nobody. And then they go look, and it's like, oh, he's somebody, all right.
Yeah. How about you, Justin? Anything coming up that you're looking forward to?
Now I'm hearing about Nobody too. I like the first. I mean, you have to suspend your disbelief with one dude, even if he's a badass special forces guy, to be able to beat the crap out of 7 armed dudes who attack you on a bus. But, like, I'm okay suspending my disbelief, so I definitely enjoy that.
Yeah, we watch all kinds of superhero movies. Those things don't exist either. So.
Yeah.
So, well, the difference is when it's a superhero in world, you suspend your disbelief because this person is a superhero. But when he's nobody, when he's just a regular dude, to me, it's there's a difference that happens. I don't know if you'll agree.
Well,
with me.
having been military and know that probably the scariest guy to ever exist in the United States Special Forces looks like your 6th grade chemistry teacher. Like, the dude looks like nothing. He's like 5'6". Skinny, but he's like probably the deadliest member of the United States military in its history. And, like, so I can suspend disbelief a little bit, knowing that there have been people in our history that exist like that. So that they just make shit happen.
Certainly are.
You want something done? That's the guy.
And of course, also looking forward to Daredevil. Although I'm gonna hold off as long as I can until you guys say you need to have these X amount of episodes watched. So,
all right. How about you, Cynic?
Well, since none of you said it, we did bring it up earlier. Super excited for The Last of Us 2. Yeah. I can't wait for that. The trailers look great. I mean, I don't give a fuck about the casting. Could people stop banging on Bella Ramsey? I don't care. She's great for what she does.
Yeah.
It's a video game. She's not a real person. It doesn't matter what she looks like. She's played the role really, really fucking well. And stop banging on the ground. She can't help what she looks like. None of us can help what we look like, So, I mean, it's crazy how wrapped up people get in this casting nonsense when and it's to the point where they complain now and shows get canceled.
Yeah.
And it's like you're hurting everybody else because you can't get over your fixation with a video game character.
Yeah.
It's just dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
no,
Rob.
well, no, I'd say the only time that kind of thing bothers me is if it's central to the character. It's like when going back to the Reacher thing, like when Tom Cruise was cast as Reacher in the movie, that's a dumb choice because Reacher's giant and physically imposing,
Yes.
and Tom Cruise is not. Yeah, he's got bigger balls than I will ever have, but like he's not a massive imposing guy, right? So that's when it'd bother me. But like, so what? You know, it's like
It was still a fun movie.
would you rather somebody who looks exactly like her but is a bad actress? Like I don't understand what people want out of it, you know?
Yeah, she's done incredible with the first season. You can't argue with it. It was a lot of fun, and everybody loves Pedro Pascal at this point. So
Yeah,
more of
he's
that.
it's like he can do no wrong.
Yeah, no, he cannot. And the other thing was the second season of Andor, which there's a preview before the first first episode of Daredevil, and I got super excited about that.
That I'm like, I gotta watch. I want to watch season 1 again because that's such a good show.
Yeah, definitely, it's definitely worth the rewatch. You know, there's a lot of meat on those bones for sure.
Oh, yeah. All right, so we'll do one more round. So actually something coming out this week I do want to see. I'll probably see it before I see Captain America. Is called Queen of the Ring, which is about Mildred Burke, who's like one of the the pioneering female pro wrestlers. And it's getting some good buzz. Like I think it comes out. I think it's out this week. It's a very limited run. So the only issue for me is like if you know anything about New York City, the only theater it's playing in is the AMC in Times Square, and I really don't want to go to Times Square for like a plethora of reasons. So that's the one thing possibly holding me back from going to see this movie is I really don't want to have to go to Times Square to see it. I'd rather go, like there's several other theaters that like on my list of theaters to go to. So that might hold me back, but otherwise I think that's something that's high on my list to go see. Anything else from you, Egg?
I'm going to give you a list of things I don't want to see.
Okay.
This year, I know at least 3 things are coming that are now live action remakes of animated movies.
Okay.
Because they're doing Snow White, they're doing Lilo and Stitch, and they're doing How to Train Your Dragon. All in live action. Why?
Yeah.
What's wrong with those movies the way they were?
Yeah.
Can't we just, they're fine.
Yeah.
Leave them alone. Why do we need, do you guys, you can't write anything new? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, so those are coming out, and I will stay far away from them. Like, I still haven't watched most of the live action remakes of all the other ones they've done because I'm like, I don't want to watch that because you're going to do something in it that is just dumb. And I don't want to watch it. Like, the movies themselves are fine. Lilo and Stitch, there's nothing wrong with Lilo and Stitch the way it is, like animated and everything. Like, and of course, if you're doing it live action, how live action can that Stitch be? How live action can a dragon be?
Well, that's it. Is it live action if you just traded animation for CGI?
Yeah, exactly. No. I'm like, what are we doing? So there's a lot of stuff coming out this year. Might be some really good stuff. Those are 3. I'm out.
All right, Justin, how about you? Anything else you're interested in seeing?
I'll tell you something that I'm not interested in. You mentioned it, Superman, right? And I'll tell you why. I'm not big into the original. You can't top that, so I'm not going to watch the remake. I generally don't believe in that, but I just feel that there's been a lot of just crappy Superman, and the original, for whatever reason, sort of elicits an emotional response. Maybe it was growing up and watching it. I enjoyed, I enjoyed the well, not even the original. It's funny because it's hard to call that, the
I'm like,
the
big George Reeves fan?
They've been making the original George Reeves, yeah, right. Like they're right. It's funny, and then hopefully there's no tragedy for this one, right? The history of Superman tragedy, yeah, I'm just. It's like I saw the trailer and I'm just like, like, look, if you say it's awesome, then I'll be like, all right, I'll give it a shot. But it's just it just seems so vanilla to me. Like, it's not going to elicit an emotional response, and I'm just going to keep saying, The
one thing that I like about it, what they're doing with it, that makes it a little bit separates it from everything else, is I think if you think about it, right, every superhero property we've gotten, especially in live action, I think animated different, but most superhero properties we get, I guess The Boys might be a slightly different. It's basically what if we had superheroes in our world. So it's always like these superheroes are different. They're new to new to our world or unique. And I think what they're doing with this world is like, no, well, what if their superheroes are just they existed? They're just part of this world. It's part of everyday life. And I like that they're kind of taking that angle, which I don't think we've seen really in like live action, especially in the movies. That it's it's always been like, what if we just plop Superman into our world as it is? And this one kind of is taking a different perspective. So I kind of like that it's a world that superheroes exist. They're part of like the culture, and we get to see a universe that's just divorced from ours. So I like I think it should be interesting, and not trying to be or to surpass our Superman, because it seems like it's a wholly different movie. But all right, Cynic, how about you? One more thing that you're looking forward to.
Yeah, actually the surprising thing, and it's been the first time in a while, while I was sitting in Captain America, they had a ton of previews, and they were all very good. There's a new Jurassic Park movie that looks great. There's a movie with, and if I slaughter his name, forgive me, but there's a movie called The Amateur coming out with Rami Malek.
Okay, yeah,
that looks great. Richard Bronson, John Barenthal, that looked fantastic. I mean, so maybe firing up that AMC pass might be in the cards.
Did you see the trailer for? I think it just came out. Mickey 41 or Mickey 40 something. It's the one with Robert Pattinson.
I didn't.
And he's like, yeah, that one looked interesting too.
That one comes out this week. Mickey 17.
Yep.
Yeah, Mickey 17 comes out this week.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Mickey 17. Yeah, that looks interesting. So that like might be something also like an AMC movie. So might have to convince my wife to go see that. But
yeah, zero interest in the Minecraft and Snow White movies.
You don't want to see
Zero interest.
Minecraft? Oh my god.
I do not.
Yeah.
I want to see Minecraft as much as I want to play Minecraft.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we're on the same page here. That'd be zero.
All right. Well, wow. So we got a lot out of this. I didn't think we'd go an hour because I did not have anything planned, but that was good. So it's great to be back on with you guys. And yeah, can't wait to get back to being consistent with this, because it's always fun to talk. It's weird, it's like I don't really talk much about this stuff, so it's like just fun to talk about these. And there's a lot of stuff I like the spring and summer. We got a lot going on, so it should be fun. I mean, like just Andor and The Last of Us alone should set us up for the next couple years worth of like high level TV.
And we got a ton of Daredevil coming.
Yeah.
And the invite still is open to all three of you. WrestleMania at my house.
Yeah,
Does sound fun.
that'd be
And
awesome.
we're going to be at some conventions. Maybe you should start plugging that.
Well, yeah, I should start plugging that. Yeah, I will be at the Indie Comics Creator Con next Saturday, hawking my wares, my book,
And that's where.
And in Connecticut.
That you gotta say what the con is, where
Yeah,
it's at.
What the
right?
con is, where it is. It's in Connecticut. But it'll go up on social media. I'll be posting.
It's one of the smaller states, Ryan, but do you have a town in Connecticut?
A town in Connecticut. Yeah, that is a good one, right? I should know that.
And there's also one in April, correct?
Yes, that one is the Brooklyn Independent Comics Showcase. That's in Industry City, which is gonna be a lot of fun too. So, but the one in Connecticut is in Southern Connecticut State University, where
I'll go to one or both if you get me free tickets.
Yeah, we'll get free tickets up to the.
Oh, you're part of the display.
Nice.
You'll just have you standing there.
I'll do security.
They'll put the mask on you.
Yeah.
And the Reaper. Right?
Yeah.
Actually, we thought of a very similar idea to that. So like we wanted to have a soul code display, which is something Ryan and I've written with this thing that comes over your head that sort of like Total Recall-esque, that sends you into like your past lives and whatnot. So maybe you'll be a good candidate for that, Sin.
I don't want anything coming all over my head.
Well, too late for that.
Well, all right. Well, good talking to you guys. So, Justin, until next time.
Watch out for the hole.
Still hate that.
Nice. All right. Cool.
So something kind of interesting